Good evening. I'm Norman Robinson, and welcome to Affordable Housing Matters. We just narrowly missed the first storm of the 2018 hurricane season. So on tonight's show, we will sit down with the New Orleans Red Cross to brush up on our hurricane preparedness and make sure we are prepared for the rest of the 2018 season. Also on tonight's show, we sit down with a representative of Two Oaks Apartments and learn more about a new mixed-income housing complex located in New Orleans East. We have a great show planned for you this evening, so don't go far.
Around here, we ride a lot of different things. A lot. Maybe it's because we know it's not just where you're going that counts, but also how you get there. That's why we have Blue Bikes, a simple and affordable bike share program just for our city. And if it's been a while since you've ridden a bike, don't worry. It'll come back to you. It's just like, well, you know. Blue Bikes. Enjoy the ride.
Some exciting news this evening. Two Oaks Apartments is a new affordable mixed-income rental housing complex that offers modern living without the expensive price tag. Joining me now is Ms. Molly Smith, Regional Manager for Commonwealth Management Corporation, to tell us more about this exciting new complex located in New Orleans East. Welcome to Affordable Housing, Ms. Smith.
Thank you.
What is Two Oaks Housing?
Two Oaks is 400 new units. It's built on the former footprint of the village of Versailles in East New Orleans. And it's built with tax credit funds. Mm-hmm. We are in the process of leasing up right this second. We have about 150 occupied homes of 200 available at the moment. Mm-hmm. And throughout the summer, we'll continue to fill those homes. They were built with tax credits, and the rents are starting at about $675.
Okay, they're starting about $675, mm-hmm. and these look great, by the way. And what are my options if I'm a renter with a big family?
So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments. Mm-hmm. Each home comes with a washer and dryer, a dishwasher, garbage disposal, and frost refrigerator. We pay for water, trash, and sewer. So you would only be responsible for your electric bill. And each family has to be at or below a certain income limit to qualify to live there, but the rents will be controlled through the tax credits annually. So it's like limited increase. It's like capped rents. Mm-hmm. So it's very nice rent controlled, and they're all brand new.
We had an unfortunate situation with a mixed income housing complex several years ago, where the residents were told that they had to leave after the 15-year tax credit expansion mm-hmm. Was terminated. Is there a likelihood of that happening with these units?
No, I don't necessarily see that happening. A lot of developers do their initial 15-year term, mm-hmm. but in most cases, the mortgage has mortgages are 30 years, and there's a caveat that says in order to continue financing through that mortgage, they'll have to continue with the next 15 years at affordable. And it does just depend on where an owner is at that time. With the current market and the current profile in that area, I don't know that would be an issue with Two Oaks.
And Two Oaks is a pretty successful venture.
It is. It's been developed by Mirrors Properties, mm-hmm. And they are out of Wisconsin. They've developed 2,400 units in the Midwest. They're all very high quality, affordable housing units. And this is what Commonwealth and Mirrors does, is we develop affordable housing.
Now, this seems like a very how should you say, high quality venture. So how is it that Two Oaks is able to pull this off?
Well, it all comes from the tax credits. So basically, when they finance the property, they receive certain credits for providing affordable housing and maintaining rents and income limits that fall in a preset area based on census statistics. So those are all set by, they do rent studies and they do income studies. They're based largely off median income and then median rents. And they fall into a percentage. And MIRAS receives tax credits, which at that point most developers do what's called syndication, where they sell those to large banks who can use those tax credits. And they receive cash for those, cash on the dollar. So maybe 80 to 90 cents on the dollar for those tax credits. And the thing that happens with that is you have a third-party entity who's then responsible for ensuring the compliance of the property for the long term of the mortgage. And that's how they afford to do it, is those tax credits.
Now, if I am a potential renter looking for a place and I happen to become interested in Two Oaks, what do I have to do to qualify?
Well, we start with the application process. There is an application fee. It's $20. There's a criminal history piece and a credit component that would go into looking at that. It is affordable housing, though, and we do know that not everybody's coming from a perfect situation. So you'd have to go and do the application, and then we would verify your income falls into one of those income brackets. And we have to look at the income for your entire household as well as your assets. And then the initial process can feel a little invasive. Yeah, but we do it on an annual basis. And once you qualify, the wonderful thing about tax credits is a household can go up to 140% of the income limit. So you're not capped. You're not going to lose your housing if your income grows. So it stabilizes your rent, and it creates an environment where you can go out and you can find success, and you're not going to be penalized at your pocketbook for doing so. It's a wonderful program. We see a lot of families thrive in this program and succeed.
Now, this is almost too good to be true, especially for New Orleans East, which is an area which has struggled for development post-Hurricane Katrina. Why did Two Oaks pick this particular region or area?
Well, I'm guessing it was several things. It was probably opportunity. There was probably incentive to build there. But based on what I know about the neighborhood, there's nothing like this in the neighborhood, and I think the neighborhood needed us, and we needed the neighborhood. We like to build, and it's a mutually beneficial situation. We want to help improve the communities where we develop, and we want to provide a service to the community. And we're a developer, so we have good, successful, strong developments, and that helps us grow our business as well.
What's the likelihood of other developments being created in this area?
I would say very likely. And
very likely?
I'm hearing whisperings, and it needs it. There are some things in the area. There are some old communities that need to be removed, and some new things need to be brought in, but there's definitely a need for housing. And we're seeing our markets all over the nation doing well with tax credit products, and it's a strong product. If they're done well and they're financed wisely in the beginning, they do well for the long term of the loan. And we hope to see that with Two Oaks and in New Orleans East, where you have a great need. We like to fill those niches. So it's a wonderful program, and it's an exciting venture for all of us.
No question about that. Now, what are the challenges that those who are in the affordable housing business face? Because we had an interesting situation here not long ago where a bill in the state legislature got passed that banned inclusionary zoning, and the governor vetoed it, thankfully. So are you faced with certain challenges of that nature?
Well, sure. I've seen lots of municipalities pass rules where you can't have more than a certain percentage of portable housing vouchers at a development. And sure, municipalities can sometimes, on short-sightedness, create legislation that does hamper us. But we do have associations that we work with. There's the National Apartment Association, where we do lobby, and we do work and ensure that we include our elected officials on making wise choices. and make sure that we're taking care of our people who need affordable housing. That's how you improve the education level of a community. It's how you improve family economics. These are good, healthy programs, and I think it's a question of being able to sell it to individual municipalities as a positive thing for their community, and having a strong management group who can face the day-to-day challenges of running a large community like that, and ensuring that the resident management issues are addressed properly, and everybody can live and enjoy the community.
About the management issue, is that a 24/7
Yes.
service that's provided?
Yes, it is. We have 24-hour on-call maintenance. We do have an on-site office there. There is security when the management team is not there, but someone is always on call. I am on call. Oh. So if there's a problem that's large enough, I will come to the site.
Wow.
Yep, that's just the way it is. That's our industry. And we want to be there for our residents when they are facing any kind of tragedy or difficulty on their day-to-day.
Because that's always a concern, the upkeep of a particular development or complex.
Right.
You see a lot of these developments that look great when they're first constructed or erected, and then as the years go by, they look worn down, unkempt.
And that's something that's where my role, here we are at Lease Up, so we're just filling up apartments, but that's part of maintaining the asset and ensuring that we have good fiscal health throughout the years, is maintaining the site, making sure it looks good. And just because it's affordable doesn't mean we're not selling something. We're still selling affordable housing, and we still have to earn the business of our residents. So we do hold the site managers accountable, and we do have a very high maintenance standard at Commonwealth.
All right. Molly Smith, Regional Manager for Commonwealth Management Corporation, Two Oaks Apartments. Been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Coming up next, are you prepared for hurricane season? That's a big question. Red Cross will join us next to inform us on the steps we need to take to prepare for this storm season, and also tell us how to stay safe in this scorching summer heat. Don't go far. The Louisiana region of the Red Cross serves the 4.65 million residents in the 64-parish state, while supporting others across the country and around the world. With me now to discuss the 2018 hurricane season, as well as ways to stay safe during this summer heat, is Mr. Greg Roques, Regional Communications and Marketing Manager for Red Cross Louisiana. Mr. Roques, thank you for being on Affordable Housing, and it's nice to see you again.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're always welcome here. Let's talk about hurricane preps. Of course, we all know what the stages of hurricanes are, right? Tropical depression, tropical storm, and then, the hurricane. But what are the 7 tips to stay safe during hurricane season?
So today is the beginning, June 1st is the beginning of the Atlantic hurricane season, and as of this morning, the Weather Service had put out a statement saying that they're expecting a near average season, but the important thing to keep in mind is it only takes one storm to do damage. It only takes one Katrina, one Harvey, so even though they might say we may have fewer storms than last year, that doesn't mean you shouldn't be as prepared for an active year, because it only takes that one storm. So we recommend everyone get ready now, especially because we've already had a tropical storm pre this Atlantic season with Alberto last weekend. And some of the steps that we recommend are, first, have a plan to evacuate if a storm's coming your way. Know where you're going to go, who you're going to stay with, how you're going to get in touch with family, and know where you're going to get your information from. If the city calls an evacuation, know where you're going to get that evacuation plan from. The second thing is to have an emergency kit in place, and this is something everyone should have in place now. I've brought an example of some of the things that folks will want to include in a kit.
Walk us through that.
So here is the official Red Cross kit. If you go to redcrossstore.org, you can purchase a 3-day emergency preparedness kit with everything you would need to evacuate for about 3 days. But this is something you can go to Walmart, you can go to your grocery and purchase most of these items. But some of the key things that come in our kit that you'll want to include first is a radio. This is a hand crank radio. It also has a solar component up here. So if the power goes out, you'll be able to charge it and you'll be able to access AM radio and hear the weather alerts and just kind of keep up with how things are progressing. This is very important for New Orleans. A gallon of water per family member per day.
Nope.
So here
Water comes in these little packs.
we have these little packs, and I've actually, fortunately, not had to use them during hurricane season. I have used them during a camping trip, and it's
Really?
water. It's not bad. We also have these bags which hold 2.5 gallons of water. I would really suggest, though, this is a kind of a standard measurement that we ask people to carry with them throughout the country. When I woke up to work out this morning at 6:30, it was 85 degrees, and we know what the humidity's like here. I would recommend possibly bringing more, maybe 1.5 gallons of water a day, just with the extreme heat we have here in Louisiana. Some other things, non-perishable food. We have MREs that come in the Red Cross preparedness kit.
Now, is that a 3-day supply?
This is, I believe this is 2 servings right here, and I had one of these over Katrina. I think 1 serving, if I recall, is actually more than the recommended daily allowance of just kind of calories and protein and nutrition. So it's very filling. I would say if you're assembling a kit on your own, you could buy protein bars, energy bars, kind of nuts, things like that that are non-perishable that you could bring with you. You don't necessarily need something as complete as this, especially if you have already identified that place where you're going when you evacuate and you have somewhere to go. Other things are we have a first aid kit, and in here we have things like gauze, tape, Band-Aids. Another thing I would really recommend that folks download is the Red Cross First Aid app, where we have information about CPR, AEDs, things of that nature. Also, National CPR and AED Week starts today, goes through June 7th. It's always a good skill for someone to have, not just a medical practitioner. If you're interested in taking those skills for hurricane season or just to deal with the summer heat, you can go to redcross.org/take-a-class, look up your area, and we offer these throughout the state. We also have a pet first aid app. We do encourage everyone, when you're making this kit, keep your pets in mind, bring leashes, bring food. Know that if you're evacuating to a hotel, make sure you have some identified that accept pets. And if you were to have to do first aid on your pet, I know, our cat was sick one day, and it's not like they send an ambulance out, you need to travel there, and just being empowered with that information, knowing if I had to do CPR on an animal, knowing how to do that is very valuable.
Yeah, viewers might be wondering why we're taking such a length of time to discuss this. This is what people take for granted, and this is what this is really what we find most needful in these situations, especially those of us who experienced Hurricane Katrina.
Right.
We were without this kind of sustenance and supplies, and we found ourselves in dire straits.
Absolutely. And the supplies, as I'm outlining them here, a lot of them are things that people would generally kind of think to take with them, water, food, but the free apps that I'm referencing, these are available for free in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store, so for all of your mobile devices. And there is something empowering about having that knowledge if we were on the road and something happened to my wife or something happened to our pets, or if we were traveling with someone else and something happened to a small child, knowing that you would be able to react while you wait for that first responder to get there. Just having that in the palm of your hand and reviewing it now before you may need it, or taking a class now before you may need it, that's a very powerful thing, and it makes you confident and prepared in those situations.
Especially if you're dealing with kids, pets, and the elderly.
Absolutely, and really in most of the disasters we face, be it a storm or a home fire, children and the elderly are those who are most vulnerable and most likely to experience a death or injury. So we really want to have everything at our disposal to make sure that we're able to take care of them.
So now that we've taken care of ourselves and our family, what about our property?
Our property, so if you're evacuating, make sure that anything on your lawn that could be picked up by wind, a possible tornado, that is secure and just out of harm's way. So if you typically have, garbage cans, or if you leave cleaning equipment nearby, like brooms, things of that nature, make sure that those are in your garage. It's always helpful to have any storm shutters you have closed. I know that that's something that we don't see in New Orleans as often, but your windows are boarded up and secure. Make sure that all of the appliances in your house are unplugged. If you can, turn your power off. As I mentioned, that don't turn your gas. A lot of folks may be tempted to turn their gas off. Know that that's something that you should do under the guidance of your energy providing company, and that if you do turn that off, you're going to have a professional come out. That's not something that residents or civilians can just do automatically. That's something you do need to have a professional look at. But also, as I'm discussing electricity, one of the things that comes in this kit is a Red Cross flashlight. If you lose power, I strongly advise everyone not to use candles. Candles are one of the #1 instigators of home fires, especially if your power's out and you have candles in various rooms. They can fall over. Pets and small children can knock them over. Always keep a flashlight or an electric lantern nearby, because the last thing you want is a disaster on top of another disaster.
So in addition to worrying about hurricanes, of course, we're now worrying about this heat, this uncomfortable heat, which is, we're getting hotter every day.
Yeah.
So you have something for people who need to know about staying safe during the summer?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, a good idea is to download the first aid app, and to also, if you can, take a first aid class. You never know when someone might experience heat exhaustion, have breathing trouble, so having those skills, it's, again, not just for first responders and for medical practitioners. It's something everyone can adopt. As I mentioned before, especially if you are active, avoid the hottest times of the day, so late afternoon, noon. I would say really in New Orleans, again, as I mentioned, it was 85 degrees at 6:30. Yeah. As long as the sun's out, avoid prolonged activity outside, running, cutting the grass, outdoor chores. You really want to avoid as much exposure to the sun as you can. If you are outside also, be sure to maybe wear a hat, have sunscreen. You don't want a sunburn or, exposure to something that could cause melanoma on top of dehydration, heat exhaustion.
Wow, this is a lot to compute.
Yes.
And when we're talking about staying safe in the summer, what about protecting ourselves against fires? Or the potential for fires. Potential
for fires. So fires, most people don't realize this. Usually when you see the Red Cross on the news, on TV, you're seeing us responding to a Hurricane Harvey or a Hurricane Maria, a large-scale disaster. But of the nearly 64,000 disasters we respond to annually, the vast majority are home fires. And this year, it's hard to remember now with the heat, but we had several freezes earlier this year, and we saw one of the most active winter seasons for home fires that we have experienced. So nationally, as part of our home fire campaign, which was launched in 2014 to reduce the risk of deaths and injuries from home fires by about 25%, we had an add-on to that campaign this year called Sound the Alarm, where from April 28th through May 13th, we went throughout neighborhoods in New Orleans and Baton Rouge and installed a little over 2,000 smoke alarms. We kind of targeted the most vulnerable neighborhoods, speaking with the fire departments and looking at where we typically respond to fires to identify those neighborhoods. But I wanted to stress that this is a service we provide year-round. If you go to soundthealarm.org/Louisiana or call your local Red Cross chapter, you can schedule a time for our Red Cross team to come out to your house. We'll install smoke alarms free of charge. And most importantly, we'll help you create a plan to react if the smoke alarm goes off, how you and your family can find the best place in your home to meet and know at least 2 exits and get out in under 2 minutes, because professionals have identified 2 minutes is really that point where you need to escape before carbon monoxide can kind of leave you disoriented. Anyone who watches the very popular show This Is Us probably saw in one of the last episodes last year, one of the key characters helped someone escape from a home fire, and then he died several hours later from carbon monoxide poisoning. So it is something that can stay with you for several hours.
Very important information. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Gregory Roques, Regional Communications and Marketing Manager for Red Cross of Louisiana. Yep. More affordable housing matters coming your way right after this break.
I love taking care of my mom. It wasn't easy at first. She learned how to better communicate her needs.
And you learned how to not ignore yours.
I discovered how to make healthier meals.
And I discovered how much I enjoyed them.
Becoming a caregiver is a learning experience for everyone. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
We would like to again thank our guests for joining us this evening on Affordable Housing Matters. And remember, if you would like to re-watch this or any other episodes of Affordable Housing Matters, please go to WLAE.com and click on the programming link. There you can re-watch this and all past episodes of Affordable Housing Matters. And as always, I want to thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Norman Robinson. Have a good night.